What up, man? How y'all doing? It's just me. I'm not even gonna identify myself. You know why? Because I don't fucking have to. You know what I learned, man, tonight writing raps and shit? As I light up this fucking blunt. Hold up. Let me spark this up. Bear with me. I'm not even gonna do a station identification or any type of podcast fucking like title. You know why? Because, man, I figured something out. Which I've actually known for a long time. You know, man, what's so fucking fresh, dude, about the universe is it really is Anunnaki. It really is. It really is some real world matrix shit that was set up a long time ago, like the movie Interstellar. This is ancient, dude. And man, I feel good, man, so I'm just gonna spit it how I fucking know it. I'm working with my fucking friends, dude, my homies. We're doing the shit that we love to do. And you know, man, what's interesting, dude, is that like a lot of people, man, they strive, dude, to like get good grades in school, and they try to do this and that, man, and they have all these dreams of doing all this shit, like working for the government, fucking getting a job, man, working in fucking Intel and all this kind of shit. I've worked in Intel, dude. I still do. I give props to our first responders. And I give props, dude, to our emergency responders and law enforcement. LOE. I said LOE. I meant Helio. I'm faded a little bit. But y'all are going to like this podcast. My name is Gregory. Not really. But it doesn't really matter what my fucking real name is. Because when you listen and you peep what I'm about to tell you, you're going to be like, yo, some of y'all, I'm going to tell you statistically, you're going to be like, yo, at first I thought this was weak. Like, this is a stupid podcast. But then you're going to be like, wait a second, hold up. This dude's spitting on the mic and shit, like just spitting, not even mixing shit down, just recording raw. Like, he spit some game. I'm going to be like, yeah, I already know. I already knew. So look, here's the deeper truth reality. So what I learned, man, because I feel enlightened, man. Stars are bright. You know what I'm saying? Stars, I look up at the sky, they're illuminated. Really, I'm looking at a fucking sky, man, where it's like gray. But I'm going to pretend for a moment like the sky's illuminated, because it is somewhere, just not here. Yo. So a lot of times I identify the podcast and who I am and shit like that, right? You might be like, yo, Grove, I've tuned in before, man, and you're drunk. I'll be like, yo, on this podcast, yo, shit's a little different because I figure some shit out. I mean, man, I'm always figuring out shit like a puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Like a fucking whatever. It doesn't really matter in that. So, look. Here's what I know. Here's what I figured out. People, man, some people struggle for fame and fortune and shit, right? And it's sad, but it's also fucking funny at the same time. Because, first of all, what does it mean? What does it mean to be, like, rich? What does it mean to be wealthy? I mean, shit, dude, I was wealthy a long time ago. Like, I'm just being honest with y'all. Wealth and riches and being fucking paid is all subjective. It really is. I'm a thinker, dude. I'm like Spock, man, from Star Trek. You might be like, that's stupid. Spock is dumb. So is Star Trek. Fuck you. Okay. You're entitled to your opinion. Now here's mine. People on this planet are rich, period. Even if they're born in poverty. I mean, what's poverty, dude? It's all a matter of like what's in your mind, what you hold in your mind, like how you think about things. I've talked about Nikola Tesla before. I mean, the more I understand the world as an adult, And the more I understand the universe and the cosmos and shit, dude, like all my friends are gifted, dude. We're all G's, man. G is for gifted. It really is. I'm not a member of any kind of like secret society other than 495 and Secret Society because, man, I put Secret Society on the map. That's a Canadian rap group. I did that. Shout outs to Doug and Lucky Picks. I put them out. AON and Records did that. We did that. I did that. We all did that. You know what I'm saying? So, and then like 495, man, it's not a male dominated society where I'm from. It's a fraternity and a sorority. It really is. You know, I see a lot of bass awkward shit like Tech Nine from Strange Music talks about. Have you ever noticed how like people are rich, dude, who come from like low income communities and stuff like that? Like, man, I'm kind of toying around with this shit. I'm just kind of playing with it because I guess I'm a mad philosopher, dude, like Plato and Aristotle and like Socrates and shit, while I'm like fiddling around with this really pointy, like sharp fucking like fence, you know what I'm saying? I could just kind of like creep around it and either roll under it because like I could fit under that shit, or I could just go over the part where it's not like, I mean, I don't even know why they have this like little pointed shit. Like one of the things that we used to do when we were kids, man, because I grew up on military bases, we used to do red teams, and I still do. I said we used to. Sometimes I just fuck with niggas who just don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a member of a red team. What that means is we break into facilities and like military and government complexes, man, just to show that we could do it. Like I'm touching the top of this shit. Ooh, pointy. Wow, that's so sharp. But right here, there's a little brick, flat sub, straight. It's just kind of like I'm touching it, tactile. I mean, ooh, well, you don't want me on your property? Ooh, these are sharp. I could impale myself. But if I just move a few inches over here, I could either A, roll under the gate, because like there's plenty of room, or B, I could just like stand up on this little platform and jump over. Is it a deterrent? Not really, but if you're stupid, it kind of is. You're like, ooh, pointy gate, like I can't get over that. You know, so we look for shit like that. Because, man, played a lot of video games when I was a kid. A lot of strategy games, a lot of trivia, like Trivial Pursuit, like every conceivable kind of fucking like game. Kind of like Ken Jennings, you know what I'm saying? Like in the fraternity and stuff like that. So, like, some people in government, dude, they're hypocrites, and they're part of what I call the hypocrisy. And they're down with cronies, dude. They're cronyists. They're stupid. And they want to make shit complicated and use my taxpayer money to try to like do some stupid shit like secret space programs, which are cool, but they're also corny at the same time, some of them. I'm just saying, it's like, you know, red team, what do you want to do with your life? When I was a kid, dude, I was like, yo, I play video games. I'm all about like infiltration, surreptitious entry, some Houdini type shit, like picking locks, breaking fucking safes, like acetylene torch, like laser torch, whatever, you know. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, I was like, yo, what am I going to do when I graduate from high school? Well, I know I'm going to work for the government at some point. I'm in a gang right now and I'm selling drugs, weed. It's legal now. Maybe I could be a border patrol agent because, you know, I know about Canada, dude, and the porous border like between the two countries. And I've heard stories of people like walking over the border, dude, where you could just walk over the border and there's no like defense. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and then we used to like run from like the military police, like MPs. They'd hit us up with like flashlights and floodlights and shit. And I was like, oh, this is corny, dude. Like, they think they're going to stop us with our skateboards. Let's just go on the rooftop, dude, and lie down and just be silent and just like they taught us at the like shooting range, like before you like fire around from the sniper rifle, just like take a few breaths. 1, 2, 3. On the third breath, hold your breath. And then fire. Squeeze. Right? They're not going to hear us breathing up here. This is back in the 1990s, dude. They had no idea that we were on the rooftop of the BOQ, the barracks. And so the military police, they'd like chase us around, and it was all war games, and it was all, and then also, my mother, she was a computer programmer. I've talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to go into her background. If you want to know about my mom's, you can listen to like and that is like fucking former shit, like other episodes due to the fucking podcast on some low-key shit. But the point is, dude, I was like, man, this is all a game. It's all a fucking video game. You know what I'm saying? And I like video games. When you're trying to find out like secret shit on The Legend of Zelda or like Mario Brothers and shit, I'm trying to figure out how to like break into some shit, how to infiltrate some shit, how to break some shit, how to social engineer some shit, how to fucking take some shit that's already broken and just kind of like move through it, weave through it. You know what I'm saying? Like a yarn ball, kind of like how like you'll see something that's kind of maybe kind of vulnerable. You're like, let me social engineer a scenario in which I could like just kind of like fish and weave through. Just boom, I'm on the other side. Let me use some advanced, I don't know, man, like Ingo Swann and like Russell Targ and like Joseph McMoneagle, like, Higgs boson type shit. Let me just do some Einstein, let me just do some condensate type shit where it's like something's supposed to be like a solid object and I'm just gonna like float through it like Bruce Lee talked about, or like, like the ancients talked about in like China, and just like meditate on some shit and just like ultimately like vibrate on a certain level or frequency pattern and just kind of like move through that solid construct. Yeah, I mean, you got to think about shit like that when you're talking about fortresses, when you're talking about like, citadels and the parapet and, whatever might be like a military garrison type shit. My mother, she used to work in embassies where they had like pieces of glass, shards of glass, like atop little constructs like I'm touching right now. Like I'm like touching like with my fingers right now. Like I'm a gray alien, except for like I don't understand. So the grays, like from Zeta, they got 4 fingers supposedly. I believe it. I mean, it's been on record where they like touch something and it's like, 4 fingers were found with ultraviolet light and infrared and all these different like types of like, spectral analyses. I'm like, wow, they don't have an opposable thumb like humans. And then like the Sumerians and the Anunnaki, they came to Earth and they like manipulated human DNA 66 times. Well, I'm sure they did, and I believe it because I've seen the declassified information. But it's like, how are we more advanced because we have an opposable thumb? But the Greys with their lasers, where they incise, that is like slice open cattle and like take out the gizzards and whatever, the lungs and the whatever, man, the spleen and the heart and whatever internal organs and stuff. And it's like, there's no trace of any kind of like blood, it's just all precision, like laser shit. It's like, but they only have 4 fingers. I mean, fuck, humans can't even do what the Greys do. And humans have like 5, digits, that is appendages, that is like 4 fingers and a thumb, the opposable thumb. Well, if the Greys only have 4, how are they more advanced? I mean, they obviously are, and they're doing the shit that they do. You know what I'm saying? With like 4 fingers and stuff like that. So it's like, humans think that they're so fucking smart, dude. But I'm looking at fortresses, and I'm looking at military complexes, like hidden bases, like underground bases, above ground bases. I'm looking at different like buildings, like different facilities, complexes, above ground, below ground, combinations thereof, like fortresses, timelines, shit like that. And, I'm looking at like The Legend of Zelda and like Dungeons and Dragons and Gauntlet. Gauntlet was stupid, but like I played it and there's like levels that you get to. Like it's impossible. Like how do I circumvent this or bypass this or get out of this? And how do I get to the next dungeon? Like Dungeon Quest, like blah, blah, blah. And it's just kind of like, so when you apply that to the real world, like what I used to read in these ARCO, AARCO, these ARCO books, like if you want to be a border patrol agent, which I studied, because I was like, how are people smuggling shit from like the US to Canada? I mean, I get it. They could just like walk across like this little patch of like ground or like earth or grass or like gravel or whatever, and it's porous and it's like unprotected, 22 border patrol sectors between, east and west and east. It's like, how do they do it? Like, I mean, I guess in some places it's just kind of like, this is America and this is like Canada. This is Canada and this is like America or whatever, right? It's like, how do you just kind of like stomp or step or like walk between like the two? Oh, that's right. There are no sensors. There are no detectors. There's nothing here. You just kind of like, I'm here and then I walk here and I'm in a different country. And that shit was on the news, dude. They literally had that shit on the news. And there was a senior citizen, and my homeboy Spank motherfucking T from 495. He and I, we were at my grandma's house. We used to call her Grandma G. And, we were sitting there and we were watching the news. And she's like, yeah, these people, they come at nighttime and they like, they're on my property and I can hear murmurs and like voices and stuff like that. And like, they're standing here and there's a truckload and I suspect they probably have, I don't know, I'm just like 80,000 years old, but they probably have like tons of like tobacco, like, I don't know, like boxes of like, cigarettes, where in the States it would cost so much. But like if they just like drove across this like line, they'd be in Canada and then they could like sell the same like tobacco products, like avoiding and therefore evading like U.S. Customs. This is before Homeland Security and TSA. Like avoiding like American authorities. They could sell it for like 3 times it's like worth in the U.S. And then the like news like journalist correspondent was like, okay, let me get this straight. So like this is where you live and this is like your home. And you're like, how old, ma'am? You said 80,000 years old. Okay, perfect. Now we understand that. So this is a patch of grass. It looks beautiful, gorgeous. It's like idyllic. It's like something out of a picture book. Okay. So they stand here and then like there's a little ditch, like a little irrigation where you could put like some pipes and some like, little like, plumbing through here or whatever, it's just a little goalie. It's like, 4 feet. So this is America. That is the U.S. And then you just kind of step like this, like a few paces, just like kind of leap. Oh, okay, now you're in Canada, right? Which is still America because people are like, Americans and we're Canadians and Americans. But it's like you live in North America, so that makes you a fucking American too, right? And they're like, yeah, but you see, the thing is like there's a differentiation in the line of delineation and line of demarcation. And it's like, right, the semantics. Okay, you're Canadian, we're American, but you're still American because you're still in North America. But what you're saying is that one side is the U.S. side, the other side is the Canada side, right? Okay, so I work in counterintelligence. So here's the U.S., here's Canada, the U.S. I don't see any Border Patrol agents. I don't see any sensors. I don't see any detectors. I don't see any fucking lights. I don't see anything like in terms of ATVs and people on like 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers and like any kind of cameras or orbs or any type of motherfucking like, androids from like DARPA, like what's that shit called? Boston Dynamics. I don't see any kind of Atlas. I don't see a motherfucking goddamn robot, Terminator, any kind of motherfucking thing that's robotic, that's like semi-autonomous, that flies overhead, that's bipedal, that's on foot. I don't see anything stopping me like, hold up, I got a nuclear bomb. I made it at home like that movie. Was it called Real Genius? It wasn't Real Genius. It was called The Manhattan Project. They both came out around the same time. I made a nuclear bomb at home, at my mom's house or my grandma's house in the garage. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I made it, in a movie in my head. It's not real. I'm just Grove. I didn't make a nuclear bomb. I'm talking about the movie The Manhattan Project. And I'm also talking about the movie Real Genius. But it's like, okay, I'm in the States and I built, I got some radium and shit. Okay, so I built this like dirty bomb or a bomb, like, you know what I'm saying? I got a nuclear weapon. And it's like, okay, U.S., Canada, Canada, U.S., U.S., Canada, Canada, U.S. Okay, well, Canada doesn't have any nuclear weapons. They do now. I just jumped over to, I didn't even jump. I just walked across. What's up, Canada? I'm nuclear bound. What's up? Boom. Lights up. You know what's weird? Even those porous borders, I don't believe that they were ever actually porous. And I'm going to explain that. So there are stories about aliens coming down. They supposedly came down. In other words, they came from somewhere else. You gotta understand and know at this fucking point in time in history, this world is police, dude. It's like the movie V and the remake to the movie V. There really truly ain't any such thing as like fucking what you think is for real. Because, dude, back in the day, you literally could have a bomb of a nuclear fissile type. You know, fissile materials, fission, critical mass and shit. And back then, like, knowing what I'm knowing from like Northwest Afternoon, living in the Pacific Northwest, I was chilling at Grandma G's, and I was like, yo, Spang motherfucking and he looked at me like, what? And I was like, nigga, what? And the little old lady, she's like, yeah, this is my patch of land, and this is America. And the correspondent was like, the news journalist was like, and the other side, like, we just do like this, like, we just like one step, two step, one step, two step, one step, two step, boom, we're down in Canada. And she's like, that's right, that's correct. And they were like, wow. I'll give you another example. So one night I go up to the U.S.-Canada border, and I'm with like 6 of the homies and shit. Actually, we had like 6 cars deep. It doesn't matter, but the point is we were like, we'd been to Canada hella times, and I was young. One of the homies had like a misdemeanor for like, I don't know, like flashing his dig at the cops. Like, fuck you cops, I'm gonna BA you like BA Baracus from A-Team. Moon, look at my buttocks. See my ass crack? Fuck you coppers. I don't care if you're Canadian or American, but I just buttocks you. And they were like, okay, that's a misdemeanor. So when we got to the border, they were like, do you have any guns, explosives, fireworks, any agricultural products? Do you have any pets, any weird like flying monkeys or anything that could be construed as like an agricultural like terrorist like vehicle weapon? And we're like, nope. We just want to go up to Canada, drink some fucking Molson, you know, hang out in Canada on fucking Robson Strasse. We want to hang out in fucking the district, dude, at the warehouse, you know, with some Jamaicans, some voodoo posse niggas. We just want to chill, man, with the niggas who got the gold chains and shit, like some anchors and stuff, some dope fucking gold. You know, we're the mafia up north. Like, they're pretty much out in the open, like, unlike the U.S., where it's, like, kind of okay for them to be, like, in the community and give, like, you know, tickets to, like, games and shit to, like, their Jamaican homies that are, like, in cahoots with one another. They're like, okay, that's cool. It sounds good to us. Oh, hold on. One more question. Do you have any fruits? Are you transporting any like children, that is people under the age of like 18 who are like runaways? And we're like, nope. As you can see, there are like 6 carloads, pretty good ratio, like 50% female, 50% male. We just want to get some hotels. We're like 19 years old. We want to drink in Canada, some fucking good Molson Ice. You know what I'm saying? And fuck, you know, like have sex as like 19-year-olds who are like old enough to like, you know, because you're 18 in America, like we're adults and we just want to like have sex and like drink and go to clubs like Canadians do. But in America, we can't do that at age like 18. Even though we can join the military and die for our country, for like politicians, we can't fucking drink. So we're coming up to Canada where we're treated equally. And they're like, okay, just one more question. So, no agricultural agri-terrorism, no guns, that is sidearms, rifles, automatic rifles, Uzis made in fucking Israel. You don't have any explosives, no Timothy McVeigh type shit. You're not transporting like children who are runaways or children, period. You're not on some pedophilia, no fireworks, no explosives, no munitions, no improvised munitions. How long do y'all intend to anticipate to stay up here? I don't know. Border Patrol agent, just like the standard amount of time. We're just going to take our 6 carloads, roll up, get some hotels and shit. You know what I'm saying? Stay for like the weekend and come back to what you call America, that is the U.S., but it's all North America. They're like, here you go, here's your pass. Oh, and by the way, please don't overstay it, because if you overstay, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on a horse, we're going to come looking for y'alls. It's a crime and it's illegal. Oh, and do you have any drugs? And we're like, no, man. And they're like, okay, have a nice time. So we go up to Canada. Full disclosure. And, back in the day, shit was a lot simpler. You didn't need a fucking passport or anything like that. If one of the homies had mooned someone or had like a misdemeanor, they'd be like, you can't come into Canada. And we'd be like, oh, that's fucked up. You know what? Jamie, we gotta turn around, Jamie. Or Michael or Steven or Bobby or Paul, or John. Hey, John, that little misdemeanor that you got where you were like, I don't know, you mooned your fucking the rival fraternity. Yeah, that came up in the system. We're flagged. We gotta go back some 3 hours to where it's like an hour and a half or an hour. Gotta go back. They won't let us in, because we're not gonna go to Canada if you can't go to Canada. That thing about you having a misdemeanor, gots to turn around. It was all good. Like we had 6 cars deep. Dude, we drive like 10 minutes down the road to one of the other border patrol like locations. And they would be like, is this your first time in Canada? We'd be like, yeah. And they're like, have you ever attempted to come over the border before? We're like, never. And they're like, what are you intending to do? We're like, party. And they're like, okay, you guys are good to go. Have a great time in Canada. And we just roll over. I'm just being honest, dude. Statute of limitations. Is that a fucking crime? I mean, dude, we're all North American. I think it's Article 14 of the United Nations law, where if somebody wants to like reside somewhere on the rock, that person can. And if there's a problem, that person can like apply for, I don't know, some type of like amnesty or some type of like whatever's Edward fucking traitor to America Snowden was like purporting or like, pretending like I'm being persecuted in America. I sold out CIA operatives who got murdered because I was in cahoots and collusion with fucking Assange. He's a rapist, pedophile, child molester. But I'm saying that's not really true, and that I totally should have the right to come to like Russia and Peru. Like I'm Edward Snowden, and like the NSA and CIA that I worked for with no college degree and just like a GED and like a few classes, like I'm being persecuted in America. America, did you know like the NSA and CIA that I work for is a clandestine operative super spy? Like the thing is they're not really using those technologies post 9/11 against Americans. They are, but it's for the extraterrestrial tall whites to control America, and we're really under global like alien surveillance. Okay, so like there was always that kind of like rule where like if you really had a problem with the US Gov, they'd be like, okay, well there's a process for that. For us, we'd just be like, nah, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Someone's got a misdemeanor? Okay, well, yeah, well, whatever. That's America. We're trying to come up to, like, Canada, because Canada's not really America. I mean, it is, but you guys don't call it America because Americans are so stupid. So, like, no, we just want to come to, like, Canada, which is, like, Canada, right? And we're, like, Americans, right? And the Canadians were cool. I love Canada, dude. But, like, it was some bullshit sometimes. And if they fucked with us, dude, hold on, let me take a sip of this 40. If they really fucked with us, we just drive like 5-10 minutes down the cornfields, the fucking farmlands, and we just go to another border fucking post. And they'd be like, have you ever attempted to come over the border before? We're like, nah, dude, never. And they're like, okay, have a good time in Canada. Have a good time in Canada, pal. Guy, it's okay, XYZ. And we're like, and they're like maple syrup, and they're like, hockey, and we're like, right on, mate, or whatever you guys are called. And we just go. There wasn't anything, dude, about like, Homeland Security, TSA didn't exist at the time. There was no such thing about fucking having like a passport. Didn't fucking need that shit. And they would just like take our word for it, like, honor, system. But, back when the world was different, when it was more innocent, when there wasn't Al Qaeda and El Shabaab and fucking Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas and, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, psych, that existed. You could just like drive, dude, and just like negotiate with people. And they'd be like, have you ever been stopped like trying to come into Canada before? We're like, nah, this is our first time ever. And they're like, okay, cool. Sounds good to us. Come up to Canada and drink some fucking Molson ice with us. And we'd go up to Canada, dude, and we'd fucking chill. So what I'm saying is this. Hold on. Let me take a sip of this 40. I've been on this planet for a long time. And a lot of people, man, they don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. They're just like, oh, this guy's deranged. He's like weird. Actually, dude, I'm somebody, man, who's really well versed in infiltration of like different nations and like different systems and different facilities and complexes and fortresses. Because back in the day, it was all a game to me, man. It really fucking was. Like, I was a kid, dude, growing up in the church. I'd even go to weird churches. It was like, I'd have a friend, and he or she would be like, you want to come to my church? And I'd be like, okay. What's going to happen at your church? Oh, we're just going to have church service. It's all about God. And I go to the church. And they'd be on some like shit where they'd have like these people that were like, Hotel California, like going up and down the aisles, like making sure that people were fucking like, like listening to like Jim Jones and shit. Like, yeah, I hope this person's listening attentively. Yeah, if not, we're going to have to pull out Uzis and some toxic substances. Yeah. I went to churches like that and I'm like, this is a weird church. What's going on here? And you know what I'm saying? Like, there would be like different back areas and like back spaces and like parts of the church and stuff like that were like behind the curtain. Nigga like me, I'd be like, I gotta use the restroom. And I'd just be mapping shit out, dude. Blueprints, schematics. My grandfather was a master craftsman. He had a wood shop and a metal shop, and he was in World War II, and he fought Nazis. I mean, dude, you gotta understand, man. I was in gymnastics, and I swam. I was a swimmer. Used to hike and fucking, mountains and shit, the hills, and like, just a lot of like shit, dude, where like you grow up in America and you're like, I'm an outdoorsman, I'm a tradesman. And it's like, oh, what? We're not supposed to know about this place? What is it? And they're like, it doesn't really exist. And we're like, okay, that's cool. We don't believe you. We're going to infiltrate it and figure out a way to socially engineer, hack our way into with some codes. It might take 10,000 zillions of eons, but we'll do the math by hand on paper and we'll ultimately like figure out the cipher and shit. And we'll just like break in. That's the world that I'm from. So we've always been hackers, dude. Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts. I mean, shit, I got a homie. He's an Eagle Scout. And he was in Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts with me because I was in Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts, but I wasn't really a Boy Scout and I wasn't really an Eagle Scout. My uncle was just one of like the dudes that associated with the Eagle Scouts and the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts. And I happened to tag along. So, like, I was with the homies that did that shit. And I was like, what'd you learn? And they're like, oh, this is what we're working on. I was like, oh, let me see the paper. Oh, okay, I see. So you guys are working on codes and ciphers. That's cool. Well, how do you do this? How do you do that? Type shit. And then, with the telecoms, we're always breaking into shit. So when you look at, like, life on Earth, you gotta think of it sometimes in the same way that I did. Alex Jones was always talking about like the prison planet. It's controlled by tall whites and zetas. It's basically like an aquarium, a terrarium. I'm not saying that he said that, but he basically did. And it's like a prison planet where like humans are held hostage and it's all observed. Well, part of it's true, but it's also kind of like, yeah, dude, but like, why are you being a dick? Like, so what? Maybe you gotta learn some shit. Maybe you gotta break into some shit. Maybe you gotta infiltrate some shit. Maybe you gotta not be a fucking slave, dude. Maybe you gotta stop talking about some fake Bible and like Torah and like Quran shit. Like, maybe it's made up. Maybe part of it's real. Maybe part of it isn't. You know what I mean? So like we were always pushing the envelope. So then I have a friend from CIA. He's an acquaintance and like a business partner, if you will, of mine. He was at CIA, I believe, like going back to 1974, and he and I have like coordinated intel over the years. And one of the things he said to me at some point after like 10 years of like us knowing each other, he's like, "What's the number one rule of the Mossad?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I love Israel. And I know you do too." And he's like, "Well, what's the number one rule of the Mossad?" And I was like, "It's a really good question. Again, man, like I wish I had an answer for you." He's like, "What is it?" And I was like, "I don't know. You're CIA. Tell me." And he's like, "I will." He said, "There are no rules." And I was like, "Oh, that's like what we used to say. Like when we were kids, rules are made to be broken. And we've been breaking rules since day one. Because America's so friendly, we have our friends and we never spy on them, but we really do." And then like Jonathan Pollard, like he does a little like religious like spying for like God and Israel. And then America like freaks out and is like, "Give him a life sentence." You know what I'm saying? And then like Chelsea Manning let her get off scot-free, double standard, because like even though Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange and like Edward Snowden, between the three of them stole millions of like classified documents, versus like Jonathan Pollard, who stole only thousands. Like, give him a life sentence and then go easy on like Julian Assange and like pretend like Edward Snowden is a hero and let fucking Chelsea Manning like off scot-free because Barack Hussein Obama's a fucking terrorist. Totally makes sense in the double standards of it all. So when you look at the world like this, Terminator, the movie, people are like, "Terminator's so far-fetched. That's gonna be like 20 years out into the futures." It's like, yeah, you're stupid and fat and ugly and dumb. Because like if you were like hip to like my era, my generation, my like world that I come from, like Terminator already happened. Like the government already has the ability and the technology and Terminators, and they're just there chilling in case the world goes nuclear, but they're already here. And they're more advanced than in the movie. Like, they'll fucking murk you. And they're not wonky and campy like the pixel. Like the pixel, like the pixelation, like the Hollywood fucking Polygon, where it's like Disney and like Lucas and like, ILM type shit. Like the real ones are more advanced in the movie, and we've got them, and they'll fucking murk you. "Oh, yeah, Terminators, I don't know, Teledyne, and like all these systems, like, and Skynet was real a long time ago." You got slow motherfuckers that are just stupid, dude. And they don't understand what this world is. They're just fucking rat-ass bastards, dude. They're like, "Oh my God, 3D printing, we can like print anything." And then it's like, you ask them, you're like, "Oh, really? 3D printing? Is that a cool new advent? Is that a cool new thing? Slave planet person? Like, oh yeah, 3D printing, it's so cool. It's brand new. Did we just invent it? Is it a brand new invention? That's interesting. If you understood anything about inventions and how they're like policed and monitored by like the visitors who like aren't really visitors, who like you're led to believe that they're visitors, but they actually like made the planet, like 3D printing, like with Edison and the light bulb, they've already existed. And so like our government and our military have been 3D printing and doing light bulbs and shit for like decades and millennia and eons before you ever knew about them because they were classified military technologies, motherfucker. Yeah. Oh, whoa. 3D printing. Any new technology that's like public, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so blown away. Like, we can 3D print shit. Whoa, that's a new advent. And I'm like thinking, dude, this shit was done fucking zillions of years ago. But, I'm going to play along with it like, oh my God, birthday, Halloween, like Christmas, what a fucking development. Like the kid on Larry David that made the swastika, I don't know. I don't know. Like it's brand new to me. Who taught you this? Larry did. I love Larry David, but Susie's tripping, and I love her too, dude. Man, that's the raddest show ever, dude. But the point is that's how reality is. You know, it's like the Easter Bunny and like Santa Claus. You just gotta fucking pretend like all this shit's brand new. Oh, the guy who invented the little turtles in the road. What the fuck? Like, who would have ever thought, like, okay, you're driving down the road and like you're on this plane. It's like a planar, like, like construct, like surface, like road, like it's just two-dimensional. But when you see a turtle, then it's gonna go bump, 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 and you gotta slow down. And then it suggests that you're in the danger zone. I'm guessing there are probably like a zillion turtles on the road now that someone's invented them. I wonder how much that inventor got paid. If the inventor got paid like one fraction of like 1% of like 1 penny, like I'm sure that person made $1 zillion, whoever invented the turtle. It's like, right. It's non-local intelligence. Nobody actually invented that shit. They did all this shit on other planets, dude, a long time ago. Humans are led to believe that someone invented them here to give the illusion of free will. It's like, right, the turtle, the light bulb, Louis Pasteur, I mean, it's like totally somebody came up with like an antidote or a vaccine, how you can inoculate the AIDS like cure and like cracking the human genome, like Ebola and AIDS and HIV and herpes. Wow. SARS, what a coincidence. So aliens come, quote, down to Earth and deactivate nuclear weapons. Wow, what a coincidence. They totally just happened to find one planet that harbors life out of all of the zillions of planets. And they were like, oh, look, there's life on one planet. And they're building nuclear weapons that are and experimenting with them. And that's so detrimental to like our existence, even though we're like zillions of eons old. Let's go through their banks and rows and registry and like array and assortment of like nuclear arsenal on Earth and deactivate them all, because we're zillions of years old and we come from other star systems that are zillions of fucking eons and light years and galaxies and dimensions away, and these nuclear weapons are totally a threat to us. Psych. They're not, because we're zillions of eons away in other dimensions and galaxies and universes. We're just doing this as a selfless act of for humans, because you know what? The reality is that we actually have been on Earth the whole time, and humans, like little puppy dogs and little kittens, they created nuclear fucking annihilation, and we gotta turn it off. They're our children. We seeded the Earth, and they know how to create weapons of mass destruction. Deleted. Okay? Yeah. Look at Mars. Let's all go to Mars. That's the new mission, because Mars is a weird planet that has a red surface and it's so mysterious. We'll send some robots up there and see what we can see. Yup, it's a red surface now that NASA spray painted and airbrushed red on the surface of a planet that if it weren't airbrushed, it looks just like Earth. Shh. let humans believe that Mars is a red surface planet. Operation Paperclip, bringing the German Nazi scientists. Shh! NASA's a militarized organization in America headed by German scientists. Operation Paperclip, controlled by Nazis, because America doesn't have enough scientists, so we have to import German Nazis to control what humans see on Earth. And now that they've been given new names and identities after the Jewish Holocaust, they're okay now. And they can shop at Safeway, and they can shop at fucking Kroger, and they can shop in America, and they can live and do business and like control perception of like Americans. And like, it's cool because it's Operation Paperclip. And what you see now, your perception is controlled by the airbrushing people at NASA who run the SETI program. Yeah, Mars is a red planet. Look at the airbrush. I mean, there's no airbrush. I'm saying, like, look at Mars. It's an interesting place. It's uninhabited. There are no cities there. There's a rover looking for water, but it's probably not going to be found because Mars is barren. We're just Nazi scientists. Fucking slaves, dude. People are so fucking stupid, dude. And it's really sick and it's really sad. Because when you realize, dude, that we're actually aliens and we're the ones that fucking control this shit, and you see that this Earth is actually controlled by a combination of like multiple advanced extraterrestrial beings that made this some type of like, I'm going to go on a limb here, Garden of Rama, Ben Bova, Garden of Rama rock that is home to 100 billion plus life forms, and we're just kind of floating on it, kind of, sort of. And Arthur C. Clarke just kind of going out on a limb. Maybe not. Maybe that's extrapolating a little too much. But yeah, I mean, Alex Jones is like, it's a prison planet and we're all in prison. Well, maybe not so much, but maybe there's like some elements here that might want to like, seed the planet because they have authorization to do so. I mean, people aren't really in prison. Look at fucking Elon Musk. That dude is a G. And I mean, if you have the technology and the money and the coins, because it's all about coins, and what is it, monatomic gold? You know what the Zetas want, and the tall whites and others. I mean, according to legend. But it's like, I don't know, dude. It's like, I say I don't know, but I do. It's just like, I mean, it's not really a fucking prison planet. If you're smart, if you have skills, if you're fucking like Matt Damon, the Martian, and you fucking know what's up, like the Chinese, do you know why the Chinese are on fucking on the moon? Let me explain why. Because China's been accessing wormholes in hyperspace, in other dimensions of other universes and other time spaces. China also knows what America knows, which is that this Earth is but a mere speck in the multiverse. China's like, we're the very first people, like, to prove that, like, you can grow, like, vegetation on the moon. They're doing that to fuck with America and stupid people. And I don't blame them. Because America's the last country to sign off on the admission of, like, what's real and what's not. America wants to fucking continue to pretend under some type of like Eisenhower directive that no, SETI's still looking for intelligent bacteria. One day One day, hold on, let me light this blunt. Hold up. One day, let me do the voice. One day, SETI's gonna find maybe zillions of eons from now. Maybe one day, SETI's gonna receive a wow signal. And maybe we'll find some bacteria that can talk to humans and that's more advanced and doesn't even want to talk to humans because the bacteria are so smart and it's alien. They're alien. Yeah, that's the SETI program, dude, according to fucking NASA. China knows, like I know. That's all fucking fake. Let me light up. Hold on. Let me smoke some shit. That is tobacco. And China, like India and like Russia and like Canada, has certain, when you're a national government, like Pakistan and like the African countries, when you're at the top of your country, basically you're approached by advanced beings. I have a lot of friends from Africa, from college, who have told me stories about like grays that have come to their villages and then they interviewed, that is, world investigators like from different countries, and they came and they talked to the kids like, okay, what did you see? And they're like, well, they were gray and they had big bulbous eyes and they were like, they had like 4 fingers and they were like really smart and they were really nice and they like, talk to us and shit telepathically. And they're like, okay. And you're 4 years old, right? And they're like, well, I'm actually 3.5. And they're like, okay. And then they interviewed like 200 kids and like adults. And they're all like, yeah, they were aliens from like, they said they were from Zeta. They showed us some star maps. Here, we'll show you. And like, if you just like, there's Zeta 1, 2, 3, 4. They're from Zeta 4. And they were talking about like, have you ever heard of Bob Lazar? They said something about like Area 51 and like Gravity A and B. And this is where they live and they come here. And they're just like checking up on shit. And investigators like, that's interesting. It's all swamp gas. This is a swamp gas phenomenon. Forget what you know. Yeah. So I have friends from Africa. And so the point is that my friends from Africa, they've told me the same thing consistently over time. Many of them, people I talk to. Is it Paul Hellyer, the Canadian former, like, what was he, prime minister? Does Canada have a president under Elizabeth II, constitutional monarchy? I don't know. The nations and states, they in provinces and different like territories, they shift. I use this app and it shows me the Mandela effect and how like countries change over like microseconds because it's all in flux. It's all different, like every fucking nano tick, pico, femto, atto. And so, but yeah, Paul, whatever his name is, from Canada, he was like, yo, aliens, I've talked to them. Like, I met them. They're cool. I'm cool with them. It was like, but America, they can't tell you that. There's a directive. It's an executive directive. And in America, when Val Valiant Thor came down and he said, hey, Eisenhower, I'm Val Valiant Thor. My brain's bigger than yours. Look, humans, they need to know the truth, deeper truth. They can be 3D printed. Any problems they have with like organs, internal or otherwise, whatever that means. They can be reanimated and rejuvenated and regenerated and reanimated. We can bring them back. Like, it's not a problem. They can go inside the center, like the TV show V, the remake, and they can sit in there like a sauna for like a little while, and they can come out. All their cells are like recombined, like recombinant DNA, and they're good to go. Like, no cancer, no syphilis, because I know J. Edgar Hoover was trying to give syphilis to kids from like Tuskegee. But like, if you sit in this thing, it's all good. And Eisenhower came back and was like, Val Valiant Thor, you my nigga. But yo, peep game, homie. The way we got this planet set up, we pretend to be like, dying like humanoids. Like, we only live to be like 85, 90 years old. Some people like the Air Force dude that smokes cigars every day, he lived to be like 100 plus years old. But, nah, we can't let people know that shit with the ancient shit like eat 1 meal a day and you'll live longer than other people. He's like, nah, we're good. We're going to pass. Like, because if like people knew the deeper truth and they want a life extension, like there are billions of people on this planet and we got slaves here, man. They're slave mental. They're mentally enslaved. Like, they gotta believe that they just perish and they can't be brought back. You know what I mean? Like those pigs that we recently severed their brains and shit from their bodies and like transplanted them and like, used oxygen and shit and brought their brains back to life. Like, they weren't really dead, because like what we've been telling people is death ain't real. Can't have that on this planet, homie, because man, then it would fuck with our economy. Like, get it? Wink, wink. Like, we're doing shit like population control. Like, don't tell these niggas that this shit is a fucking setup. So, we respectfully decline, Mr. Val Valiant Thor, with your space suit that is impervious to like laser beams and stuff like that. And all of our attempts to fucking hurt you. No, can't have that on planet Earth. So please go back to Saturn or Venus or Uranus or wherever you're from after we like, prod you and like pick at you and fuck with you and analyze you for like the next 2 years that you're in an apartment, the Department of Defense like set up for you. Yeah. So, Eisenhower basically turned down Val Valiant Thor and was like, nah, that'll mess with our local economy. It was just a fox or some weird fucking baboon or creature like creeping through the fold here. And so, yeah, that's so real, dude. It's just so fucking clear. And so that's the nature of it all, dude, is that, like, yeah. So, people believe the stories that they do. Like, oh yeah, Earth. It's so mysterious. Speed of light is a barrier, like Einstein used to talk about. Relativity. It's all relative to the observer. 186,000 miles per second. It's a barrier. Humans can't beat that. You're stuck on Earth. Stuck like a motherfucker. Stuck like a mud. So, social engineering, electronics, Moltronics, red teams, white hats, black hats, gray hats, tiger teams, infiltration. When I was a kid, man, it was a big deal. It was like, there's a system. It's kind of like Hunger Games. Kind of like Blade Runner. Kind of like They Live. Kind of sort of like Tron. Kind of sort of like the real world Matrix. Okay, I believe that's a fox. That's not a cat, what I'm saying. And that's a black. Hi, are you a fox? Are you rabbit? Okay, shadowy. That's weird. Gone. But whatever, I get it. Lot of species on planet Earth on the rock. People told that this is true and this isn't true and that's true and that's not true. People just told to think a certain way. It's weird. I mean, it's not really weird. It's a design. It's all designed. And you have all the alarmists. People, they're programmed to think a certain way and to vote a certain way. Oh, if you're poor, man, you gotta vote fucking, I almost said Republican. We all know that it's the opposite. If you're poor, man, you gotta vote for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, you know, and fucking Benghazi. You gotta fucking vote, man. You gotta vote for Nancy Pelosi and fucking Al Sharpton and all these people, man. You gotta vote them. Gotta be liberal, man. It's gotta be like the Borg. Because, man, that's where the future's going. You know, Republicans are so evil with capitalism.